I thought
Shut up. Oh yeah. Okay. So now we're live. Okay. Wait. So where were you actually born? I'm gonna put Nuevo Laredo.
Chihuahua.
Okay. But okay. And then you got an associates in what?
Nursing.
Nursing. Oh, I hadn't finished. I wasn't finished writing. Finished. In Florida. Don't look at my writing because I write
I'm
scribbles.
looking at myself.
Yes, you can look at yourself. Military service.
2000. What?
Your one word answers or everything after an age page paper. Military, yes. You're I have much to elaborate on that. I'm just kidding. So yes.
Make up as you go.
Yes. Which military branch?
Yes.
Navy. Navy. Yes, sir. They trained you well to be respected. Not saying much. Just kidding. How many years? Okay, so you started in 2000. I remember that.
Yeah.
Because that's when you graduated.
I graduated at 17 in 2000.
I am gonna ask about all of that in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you started it in 2000, and how long were you in it?
I was 5 years active and then 3 reserves.
5 active, and then you moved back here and did 3.
Yeah.
Here. Reserve. Am I really like this right? Okay.
I don't know.
I think so.
I gotta leave it.
Okay. What is your current job? You're a mommy.
Your mom.
What was your first language? Spanish. You're like, why are you interviewing me? You're just
might as well.
Okay.
I'm just here to supervise.
Yeah, because I wanna know about like when you were little.
I also know that.
No, because I wasn't born yet. So I guess I'm gonna ask like these first. I don't have to. Yeah, I guess I could just start. And I guess after the questions, then I'll ask more about like. Yeah, if there's anything that wasn't said. Okay, at what age did you start school? Did you go to pre-K?
I went to kinder. That I know. I don't think I went to pre-K.
So you were 5?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, because I didn't go to pre-K either.
Okay, yeah. I don't think our parents believe in that.
No, my mom tried putting me in like another little like school right here, but they didn't want me. No, it's already full. Tell me about your first experience. Because so you came as a baby, right?
Mm-hmm. I was like a year or 2.
Okay, but up until school, you only spoke Spanish,
mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so that's like my experience.
And there was no English around me.
Yeah.
No, I taught you your ABCs and your numbers before you went into school.
I don't remember that. I don't recall.
We used to come a lot, and we'd go in your room, and I would sit down with you, and I'd taught you your ABCs and your numbers. I think it was 1 through 10 or 1 through 20, but I did that.
I did that.
So now I'm gonna interview you.
I don't remember. Okay, tell me about your first experience in the U.S. What was the main language spoken in your school?
English, because there wasn't like ESL and all that at the time. So, and I do remember my teacher being white and my little friends being white.
Were there other Mexican kids?
I don't remember. No, I don't remember because the little people that I was little people.
Little people. We were all little. Okay.
They were all English speaking.
Interesting. So you weren't like in a bilingual class.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
There wasn't like back in my days. There wasn't as big of a
no. Because I mean, by the time I went to school, we did have a bilingual class, and it's also like the area. But it wasn't what it was even when my brother went to school, and we're only 4 years apart. It was different. Like
I went to elementary. I went on the south side. Well, not even the south side, close to.
What school did you go to?
Briscoe Elementary. It's on Flores, like going towards
Briscoe.
Mm-hmm. It's on Flores, going towards downtown. So you would think.
And it was a public school, you said.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, interesting. I didn't know that. I just like assumed you were also like Well, I guess I didn't know there was bilingual classes because this was it the late 80s? Yeah, late 80s. Ooh, I'm just kidding.
Look at weekend. Huh?
I don't. Yeah. Okay. So no bilingual classes. Okay.
Is your mom on the phone?
I don't
Because I
know.
don't see anybody looking at her.
Um. mm, and then you told you didn't go to school in somewhere else. Um. Do you remember any of your teachers in the U.S.? Can you tell me about them? So like not just so I guess throughout like elementary school.
Well, I remember so that must have been kinder. She was white,
Mhm.
no Spanish. But then once I went to first grade, she knew Spanish, but it was like I remember her communicating more with my parents and like I don't want to say clingy. My parents would my mom would go like to her for a lot of stuff. Also because of the languages, my mom didn't even know English at the time.
Yeah.
So that teacher I remember helped my mom out a lot as far as like to understand the school system.
Oh, that's really nice because
Blah,
it's
blah,
hard.
yeah, and I still Miss Tellman.
Yeah.
She was Mexican, but I think she was married to a white guy.
Oh, okay.
American, I'm sorry. An Anglo-Saxon. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And so then like was that kind of how it was all elementary?
After,
I'm gonna have like all the background info.
I know. They're talking about insurance over there.
Watch it like captures just that. I'm like, I'm gonna have to call you again. Wait, so what did you say?
I think by third grade, that's when we moved to where my parents live now. And that was even worse as far as
I wouldn't like not having other. Were there other kids like you that you remember?
Not really. Mm-mm.
Oh, that's hard. So do you remember it being hard learning?
Well, yeah, the first 2 years was freaking hard because I didn't have anybody to teach me.
I don't remember. See, I don't remember it being hard, but I also had I had like a bilingual class, but even at that, like I feel like some kids probably struggle. But I mean, if I did, I don't remember.
I don't remember struggling, like being frustrated or anything. I do remember playing with those little girls, and they didn't know Spanish. But playing was our language.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
So like, were the other kids like nice to you?
Oh yeah, I never had any bullying because of the
Okay.
language barrier.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So your experience,
They would just like look at me when I would like. I'd get frustrated and I'd tell them in Spanish, and I remember they would just look at me like,
they're probably like, why does this girl have green eyes?
Yeah,
and
exactly. Oh yeah, I'm sure that was an issue.
Why she doesn't? Why does she look like us?
She's German. She's one of our ancestors.
that doesn't speak English.
And then there goes my dad picking me up after school.
Who is also like tall white man with green eyes.
Blue.
And they're blue. He has blue eyes?
Yeah.
So why are yours green?
I guess because my mom because there's a lot of green in the family.
Yeah, I know, but it was just funny because
your mom is on the phone. I hope so because they're all doing something.
They're not listening to
her.
Yeah. Okay. So then in middle school, that's when you went to a private school?
Yes.
And how was that? Like, was it still the same? Like
well, I knew the language by then.
No, I know, but were there other?
By then, yes.
There were other. And then high school.
Yeah, from his mother. Well, that was on the south side again, so there was a lot of Mexicans.
So I guess I was 3 about the teacher you said.
In high school, I went back to the south side only because that's when my parents had the jewelry store.
I do remember that. That's when I remember.
Yeah, and I went to high school over there.
But it was also a private school, right?
Yeah, it was a private school, but it was like Mexicans.
Oh.
Again, the teachers and the staff were white because it was a Baptist
interesting
school.
And that's when you graduated in
2000. At
3 years.
Yes, sir. In 3 years.
And then you joined the Navy.
Yeah, I really hope she's on the phone.
She is.
Okay, because they're all on their phones.
Okay. Okay, and I already asked how you were treated by the school teachers.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They were always nice.
Yeah, I don't ever remember having any issues.
Like, they didn't, like, exclude you or...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. That's good. That's how it should be. Oh, it's my brother. Sorry, my brother thing. Wait, describe what kind of student you were. And now I get why she says to record it, because it's like you don't even know what to write, but then it's like, oh, this is important.
Yeah. I talked a lot.
You talked a lot.
I wasn't like a bad kid.
So even though you couldn't communicate with them, you talked. No wonder you had imaginary friends.
Yes, I needed them.
Wait, so when do you do like remember like I guess becoming more proficient in English or like fluent or like once you
And
started?
the language?
Yeah.
Oh, like what? First grade, second grade?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It
So
doesn't
it
take
takes
you
too
that long
when
when
you're
that
little.
little. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that you were just like.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked a lot, but like you weren't.
Yeah, I talked a lot.
But you got like good grades.
Nah, yeah.
Okay, grades.
It wasn't until high school where I really straightened up.
I don't know. Grandpa would say that you would make the nuns cry. So I don't know. Make sure it's recording. Okay. So then 6. I feel like this is already answered. Do you remember being in a class where the teacher spoke in Spanish? Do you have preferred? Would you have preferred to be taught in Spanish?
You know, I think
Do you think
I would say yes, but
yes and no?
I'd probably be like all the other kids that go to school and they come out still not knowing English because
Yeah.
everything is in Spanish.
Yeah. So I feel like I have a.
So I'm kind of glad it was kind of like
They forced you.
I live life with a motto: sink or swim. Throw yourself at it.
Okay, that's funny
And
that's funny that you mentioned it because during the time that you went to school, that was the motto: sink or swim. Like that literally was.
And that's how I live. It's either if I'm gonna do something, it's like screw
Okay,
it.
it's fun. It's crazy that you mentioned that because that is really how they treated kids like you.
Yeah.
Like they just.
So, and I feel like with the language, like I think it's awesome that there's bilingual classes and everything. I think it's
because
cool. But I also think kids now get a little bit more frustrated and stuff than before. Before we were just used to that tough upbringing.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have learned English as quick or as.
But see, I was in a bilingual class and I still learned like kinder first, but so it's like my teacher was bilingual, like it was a bilingual class, so all the kids, my whole class was kids like me. But the curriculum was in English.
Oh, because I remember being in high school, and my friends in high school that went to public school, everything was in Spanish, and it's like, so how the hell do you learn English?
Well, I guess the thing is that like the reason they do that is because they want kids to maintain Spanish. Thankfully, we were able to maintain Spanish,
but at home.
Yeah, but I guess in school too, like in the school setting, they want them to maintain Spanish, and then I guess if people are proficient in their first language, then they'll be proficient in their second. But I also think that they can't wait too long to like transition.
Yeah.
Because then I have like even in my class there's some kids who like then struggles because they're already older to like learn English. So I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like my experience was good too, even though I was in a bilingual class. Like everything was in English, and it was like everything was in English, and then we had a little bit of Spanish. Once my brother went to school, it was like everything was in Spanish, and then it was a little bit of English. I mean, with my brother, it still wasn't a problem, but for other kids, like I'm sure, like there's some kids who have an accent, but like they were born here, you know, stuff like that. So it's hard. I don't know. It's hard to like know what's best. So okay. Were you allowed to speak Spanish in class? But there really wasn't room for opportunity, right?
Yeah,
it's not like
I
you
didn't have anybody
to speak Spanish to. But like I'm sure you didn't get in trouble.
It was mainly other kids, like, oh, you know, speak English. It wasn't that whole like nowadays you're in America, none of that. It was just like
oh, like okay. So it wasn't like in like the malicia, like it was just like, oh, like, I don't understand you, like okay. Well, I guess this is just did anything happen to you or other students who spoke Spanish? Well, it doesn't. Do you recall any students being treated differently in your school? Were you aware of any students that were punished for speaking Spanish?
Mm-mm.
No. Do you remember receiving any special service or going to any special classes?
That's for another subject. That's because my ADD and all that stuff.
Okay.
Not the language.
Okay. Oh, you did. They put it out for other.
They I know I would go to counseling. I would just sit on the floor and draw and color.
But what was that?
But it was because I no hacía caso.
Oh, okay.
It had nothing to do with the language though.
Do you think you wouldn't no hacías caso because you didn't understand, or you don't know?
At some point I remember getting evaluated and I was bored because I would finish my work and
Oh, okay.
so they started giving me extra work.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I didn't qualify for gifted and talented because of my behavior. But I was a little.
But I feel like your behavior was because you were
I was
gifted and
bored.
talented.
Yes, I was bored.
Okay, that makes sense. Interesting. The teacher mentioned something about like students who are like special needs and bilingual, and she's like, we're gonna need bilingual special education teachers. And she's like, that's gonna be so hard to fill because it's already hard to find special education teachers
alone
and bilingual teachers. So doing both, I was like, that's a lot. So, and it could be like kids being dyslexic or
I was dyslexic when I was little, or like little.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you recall any positive or negative experiences? I guess the one, like you said, your first grade teacher was really helpful. Like with your mom, made sure she.
As far as negative, no.
Any other things? Do you remember other teachers like going like above, and beyond to like?
I think really just her.
First grade. Okay. Tell me how you feel about the importance of Spanish language in this area. Is Spanish a language worth learning?
Well, yeah, especially where we live.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's room for more opportunity as an adult. Everywhere I worked, I've always been like, even my last was more wanted by the doctors because I learned to translate as they speak and with medical terms and all that, and that's not something you
like medical
easily.
Terms in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you just learn them on your own?
On my own, yeah.
Because that is hard, and that's another thing. It's like learning like the everyday language and then learning.
Yeah. Oh, that's
like,
totally different.
Very different.
Yeah. When I did my internship with Grandpa's doctor, I don't give a fuck if you know Spanish or not. He's gonna, if you're working with him, he's gonna throw it all at you in Spanish. So I always had a little notebook. I would write it down, and then for since I started nursing up until now, there's something like a medical term or even something on TV that I don't know what they're saying. I'll Google it just for self.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's good.
So that's what I would do, or I would text my mom like, how do you say this? How do you say that? In Spanish, medical terms. So then that's how I learned how to translate a lot of it.
And that's good because I'm sure that is almost impossible. Well, not
impossible,
but like
because I remember
unless it's someone that like studied in Spanish.
Most of Grandpa's doctors didn't know Spanish, and they would bring in someone to translate. Even if this is esperaba, it's like I'm sorry, but I just translate because they'd be like and most of it was in English. And I'm sorry, like I don't want to be rude and be like mamona, but be like, hey,
can I
translate, please?
Yeah,
and I would.
You're like, because it was.
Let me show you how it's done.
Oh my god! Watch me squash this shit. No, well, it's private anyway.
Okay, good.
Tell me how you feel about bilingual education. What does bilingual education mean to you?
I don't know. Like I said, my point of view of being taught everything in Spanish, it's like,
yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a slower process for you to learn English. You know, a lot of people learn other languages. Like I know a lot of people that learn Spanish just from watching novelas.
Yeah.
Which I think seems like really hard.
Yeah.
I don't see, like, I get my nails done and I never learn their language watching their novelas on the thing. So I just think it's your dedication.
Yes.
To learning, because I don't see, again,
you have to put everything.
Yeah, because I go to nail salons and stuff, and I'm watching their novelas, and it's like I tune out the language because I don't understand it, so I just tune it out completely. I don't understand. It's crazy how somebody can learn a language from watching novelas, or just from hanging out with people, not being taught, just hanging out with them.
I think like in novelas, it's like how dramatic they are and their body language. I guess you could try to like.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, but if you really don't care to, you're not gonna.
Yeah,
Like
sometimes I'm watching it and I get into it, but I tune out the language completely.
14. Do you feel that bilingual education should be an option for students in today's schools? I guess it's kind of the same. Do you think it should be?
Well,
Do you think it should be an option?
I think it should be an option in college too, because a lot of people come to get a degree as an adult with a different language, and of course, it's harder to learn as an adult.
Yeah. My professor, Dr. Gunn, I think that's her name. Pretty long name. She she came. Well, she's from Colombia, and she got her bachelor's over there, but then she came and got her master's here.
That's so cool.
And that's crazy. That's like.
But then I don't know
hard.
if there is. I've never heard of it, but I know there's like bilingual programs in college.
I don't know.
But that's where I think it should be, because it's so easy for kids to learn the language. They absorb everything. But I think it should be more available for adults too,
As
that
well,
come
yeah.
from other countries, like your professor, that they're just coming to pursue their career.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a lot easier. Granted, if she has her bachelor's and she's coming to the
And
States,
then she's a doctor now.
most likely she already
Had
is
some.
familiar with the language,
Mhm.
but that's not always the case.
Yeah. She still like learned as an adult.
Yeah.
So it was so hard.
What does she have her thing in?
Bilingual education, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure like exactly. Okay, so do you feel that students who know both languages, both English and Spanish, have an advantage?
Yes.
Like you said, for jobs and stuff. If you had the option, would you want your children to be enrolled in an educational program that uses both English and Spanish?
My other two, like the other were already enrolled. The only reason I put C in that was because my mom was like, oh, pues ponla, but she didn't qualify.
Oh, okay.
Or she didn't have enough Spanish to be in the bilingual. Like, you have to be more Spanish than English, and Ceci's not, unfortunately, because of all her siblings around her and everything.
But do you like? I mean, I guess it would be cool that even like maybe kids who don't even know Spanish,
Well,
like that should be an option.
That's what I was gonna say. I think bilingual should be option for kids to learn another language.
Yeah.
Or like
So-
for Ceci, for Spanish, to get better.
Yeah. Well, like I said, not everything in Spanish, just it being
Because like Ceci,
dual.
if she watches TV, it's in Spanish.
Really.
Like all her Gabby and all that, all the shows that she watches are all in Spanish.
That's funny. My nephew does not watch shows in Spanish. Once in a while.
Ceci freaked out in the beginning, but it's like no TV,
Yeah.
no TV then. And in the mornings, every morning when she's getting ready for school, and I'm doing her hair, everything's in Spanish, so she sings along in Spanish. You know how
That's a good way to learn.
Gabby's dollhouse is like Dora, where you have to answer, and she'll say amarillo, rojo, or and it's funny because it's like it's the words she uses like the correct term, because that's what when they translate it, when it's translated they're using like the correct term.
Yeah, they don't speak the way we do.
Or she'll say colorado instead of red, rojo.
You're like, what?
No, ma'am.
¿Quién es esa colorada?
Yo no quiero ir.
Colorín colorado. What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, like that's what one of the arguments the teacher said, that she thinks it's weird how in the U.S. they no le ponen mucha importancia for kids to be bilingual, like not only English, Spanish, like other languages, and we're like, a top
Because it
country.
stresses them. I think it's that's
Yeah.
not the case.
She doesn't even see how, like, because like Canada, like they don't have one main language, they have two. So, but I guess it's importante, like, for them
the
to.
U.S. is the only country.
Yeah,
that
I feel like
pursue it.
And they're so close-minded. It's so annoying.
Because Caro and Giselle, they took Latin. I'm like, Latin, that's a
Dead language, but
yeah.
still good, learning another language is still always a good thing. But yeah, like it should be an option. Like it should be to where more people are bilingual, and it should be an option for kids. Like just as an option, not because not a necessity. We have bilingual education because it's a necessity. But and so I guess like Ceci, the way she didn't even qualify, it's because they need those chairs for students who don't even know any English
at all. Yeah.
But and so it's like if she would have gone in that, then that's keeping a kid who knows no English out. But then that's also like not fair because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not fair for the kid who doesn't.
And then over there, there's not many
It's not as the area.
It's a military, so there's a lot of Indian and a lot of other,
From different.
like a military school. Um, like para el 16 de septiembre. I learned last year. Nobody was dressed in white and green or anything. You know, it's like that's how bad it is there. It's like it sucks.
They should try to incorporate like all the different
Cultures, yeah.
different cultures that are
Like
in the school.
the Wally just passed, and I see a lot of Indian kids there. They should, you know, have there so they can also feel
included. I think
Yeah.
that's also important. Mm, do you feel that Spanish has a place in today's world? Or something the same thing? Shut up. Do you feel that Spanish has a place in today's world?
Oh yes,
It's one of the main languages.
yes, they like it or not.
Would you like your family and children to speak both English and Spanish?
Yes.
Do you feel that Spanish will disappear in the area?
No.
No. Okay, and then like now I'm gonna go back to like so you graduated high school in 3 years, went to the military, and you went to and so when did you go to school? Like when you got your in between.
I started here right after I got out of active duty.
Okay. What year was that?
2004? And then I left and I finished in Florida.
Okay.
And then I came back.
And then you went back to school when you came back, like no, after the
Went straight to work.
okay. Interesting. And then where'd you work? What was the place called? Well, nobody was helpful. What were you like? What was your job?
This last job it was ENT.
What is that?
Ear, nose, and throat doctors.
Oh, okay.
But they specialized in cancer from the head,
Oh, okay.
the neck, not the head, the neck on up.
That sounds depressing. That sounds depressing.
I loved it. But depressing was like the terminal patients. But yes, luckily there wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Through the first time when I first started, and you haven't seen the guy had a prosthetic nose. I didn't know, and I was literally eating at my desk. And I was like, okay, come watch this. I was like, okay, literally still chewing, and I go in there, he takes it off, and you can see it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I guess I don't need any more military information. That's really. I guess that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, ma'am. Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, I think those are all the questions that I have for you today. Yeah, it's just mainly about like the your experience in bilingual education. I don't know if like when you were in elementary, like what programs there were, or if there were any.
I don't think my parents were informed of all that. I mean, since they didn't know the language or the system here, maybe there was. I'm saying no because I wasn't in any. But maybe there was, and my parents just didn't know.
No. But like at your school, there wasn't. Yeah. I think that's what was like the mentality though, the sink or swim. Like that was, there might have not been, like in general, there might have not been, or maybe it was just the area.
I've always said there isn't, but now that I think about it, maybe there was. My parents just didn't know better at the time.
Yeah.
Because also the language barrier, they didn't know anything.
Yeah. That's true. I was the cheese man in the background. Be quiet for a little bit too.
Pause, a break.
Okay.
Your mom knows better. We're over here doing this and she's hearing my name.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you were documented from 2000 to 2004, and then and 2000. Wait. No, you were active 5 years, right? You said 5. And then 3 in the reserve. And when you were in the reserves, is like when you worked at the ENT place?
No, in the reserves is when I was going to school. When I was
Oh,
here,
okay. That's
when
right.
I was at Fort Sam, I was also going to school.
Okay. And then that's a hell this little point. I guess it's so confusing because like you lived in so many places. But
The what?
I said I guess it's confusing because you lived in so many different places. But
Oh yeah.
I get everything confusing. Yeah. That's it. I'm gonna stop recording. If I have any other questions, I will ask you. But I think that's it. Or if I have any other questions that I need details on, I'll message you.
I thought it was gonna be more like a therapy session.
Oh, I'm not here to help your.
Yeah.
I'm not here to. I'm not going to psych. I'm not a psych. And